My girlfriend announced at our friend's engagement party. Don't worry, I won't let him propose. I could do so much better. Then she detailed my inadequacies while everyone listened uncomfortably. I said nothing and left early. When she came home looking for a fight, she found empty closets and a note from her landlord about the lease that had always been only in my name. This morning, 74 desperate missed calls. First post. Not using a throwaway because she doesn't know my Reddit username, and I honestly don't care if she finds this now. Last Saturday night changed everything. My girlfriend Amanda, 29, and I, 31, were at my best friend Mike's engagement party. We've been together 3 years, living in her apartment for 2. I say her apartment because that's what everyone thought. More on that later. The party was at Mike's parents' backyard. About 30 people, string lights, champagne towers, the works. Everyone dressed up, celebrating Mike and his fiancée Emma. I've known Mike since college, and Emma had quickly become one of my favorite people. They're solid, the kind of couple that makes you believe in partnerships. I was talking with some college friends when I noticed a small crowd forming around Amanda. She'd been drinking steadily since we arrived, and her voice carries when she's tipsy. I caught the tail end of whatever story she was telling as the group erupted in laughter. Emma's sister pulled me into their circle. Amanda was just telling us about your disastrous camping trip last summer, she explained. The camping trip hadn't been disastrous, at least not in my memory. We'd forgotten the air mattress pump and had to sleep on the ground. Annoying, but hardly catastrophic. And he just lay there snoring while I was basically sleeping on rocks. Amanda was saying, rolling her eyes dramatically. That's Alex, though. Mister, it's fine when it's clearly not fine. I smiled tightly. Amanda had been increasingly critical lately, but usually in private. This public performance was new. When are you two getting engaged? Someone asked, gesturing between us. You've been together almost as long as Mike and Emma, right? The question hung there. Before I could respond with our standard "we're in no rush" line, Amanda snorted into her champagne. Don't worry, I won't let him propose, she said loudly. I could do so much better. The circle went quiet. Come on, she continued, seemingly oblivious to the tension. Alex is, she gestured vaguely at me. He's fine for now, stable job, decent cook, but long-term, marriage material, please. She leaned in conspiratorially, but her whisper carried clearly. He's so unambitious it's painful. 3 years at the same position, no promotion, his salary's hit its ceiling, and he's so boring. Wants to stay in most weekends, watch documentaries. I stood frozen as she listed my inadequacies to our friends. Plus his family is weird. His mom calls him like twice a week. She shuddered dramatically. Could you imagine those people as in-laws? The group looked mortified. Mike caught my eye from across the yard, clearly sensing something was wrong. Anyway, Amanda concluded, sipping her champagne, I'm keeping my options open. Jason from marketing has been texting me, and he's on track for regional manager. That was news to me. Emma's sister touched my arm gently. Alex? I just smiled, placed my still full drink on the nearest table, and said, I should get some air. I walked out through the side gate, got in my car, and drove to our apartment. No scene, no confrontation, just a strategic exit. You see, Amanda wasn't the only one keeping options open. 3 months ago, I'd overheard her on the phone with her sister discussing her exit timeline from our relationship. Just waiting for bonus season, she'd said. No point leaving money on the table. That night, I'd done some research. Discovered something interesting. Despite living there for 3 years, despite everyone referring to it as Amanda's place, the lease had always been solely in my name. She'd moved into my apartment originally, but somehow over time, the narrative had shifted. I'd signed the original lease, had it renewed twice, and paid every rent check from my account. Legally, it was unquestionably my apartment. Instead of confronting her then, I'd started making arrangements quietly. Secured a new place, paid the deposit, set up mail forwarding. Documented which furniture was mine. Most of it, Amanda preferred spending on clothes and vacations to investing in boring stuff like couches. Back at the apartment, I packed methodically. My clothes, important documents, irreplaceable items. 3 suitcases loaded into my car. I'd come back for the furniture later. Then I called our landlord, Stanley. Explained I'd be breaking the lease early, as permitted in Clause 16B, the early termination option I'd specifically negotiated. As the sole leaseholder, I had this right. I'd pay the 2-month penalty, of course. Can you do me a favor, Stanley? When Amanda gets home tonight, she'll be confused. Could you leave her a note clarifying the lease situation? She seems to have misunderstood who's been renting the apartment. Stanley agreed, somewhat perplexed but professional. I drove to my new place, a 1-bedroom I'd rented 3 weeks earlier, already partially furnished with deliveries I'd scheduled for the future. Future was now. Amanda arrived home from the party at 1:38 a.m. I know because that's when the calls started. First confused, then angry, then panicked. I didn't answer. Her texts escalated from "where did you go?" to "where is all your stuff?" to "what the fuck is this lease notice?" impressively quickly. By morning, I had 74 missed calls and 31 texts. I blocked her number after cataloging them all. Documentation matters. 2 days later, Mike called. "Dude, what happened? Amanda's telling everyone you abandoned her, left her homeless." I explained the situation calmly. The years of subtle put-downs. The overheard exit strategy. The final public humiliation. The lease facts. "Shit," Mike said finally. "That's actually pretty badass how you handled it. Clean break, no drama." "On my side, anyway," I said. "How's Emma's party recovery going?" "The party was fine, but get this. Amanda showed up at our place yesterday, hysterical, demanding I tell her where you've moved." "What did you say?" "That I didn't know, which is true. Then Emma told her to leave before she called the police. Emma's protective of you, man. Good people, those two." Amanda found my workplace next. Caused a scene in the lobby. Security escorted her out and my boss called me in for a talk. I showed him the text messages, played a choice voicemail. He nodded grimly. "Take a few personal days. We'll instruct reception not to allow her up." That was 5 days ago. Since then, Amanda has 1. Created fake social media accounts to message me, blocked. 2. Contacted my mother, who already disliked her, and simply said, "I trust my son's decisions." 3. Shown up at my favorite coffee shop repeatedly. I'm trying new coffee shops. 4. Told mutual friends I cheated on her, patently false. 5. Left a tearful apology on my work voicemail, saved for documentation. 6. Emailed that she's keeping the apartment, factually impossible. Yesterday she somehow got my new email, probably from a mutual acquaintance, and sent a long message explaining that she was just joking at the party, that Jason means nothing, that I've overreacted dramatically to harmless comments. Said she's always seen a future with me, and I've ruined everything over nothing. I replied with a single attachment, audio of her exit timeline conversation that I'd recorded 3 months ago. Nothing else in the body of the email. Probably unnecessary, but I wanted her to understand this wasn't an impulsive decision. That was 26 hours ago. No response yet. I'm settling into my new place. Had lunch with Mike and Emma yesterday. They're firmly in my corner. Started therapy, which has been insightful. Apparently, I've been ignoring red flags because they appeared gradually over time. The strangest part? I feel relieved. 3 years with someone who saw me as a placeholder, a for now option, while she waited for something better. Now I'm the one who's found something better. Self-respect. Update 10 days later. Thanks for all the comments and support. Several developments worth sharing. The lease situation resolved exactly as expected. Stanley confirmed Amanda moved out after realizing she had zero legal claim to the apartment. She tried arguing that her emotional equity and the fact that our friends knew it as her place somehow translated to legal rights. Stanley, to his credit, simply pointed to my signature on every document. My mother called to tell me Amanda showed up at my parents' house, 2 hours away, unannounced. Mom invited her in, listened politely to her tearful explanation, then said, "My son doesn't want contact with you. Please respect that, or the next conversation will be with law enforcement." Mom later texted, "Never liked her. Your father agrees." Parents with boundaries are a gift. The most surprising development. I received an email from Jason, yes, the marketing guy Amanda mentioned. Turns out he had no idea she was in a relationship. They'd been talking for weeks, and she'd presented herself as single. He apologized for his unwitting role in the situation and sent screenshots of their conversations as proof. I thanked him for his honesty and wished him well. Work has been understanding. Security protocols remain in place, but Amanda seems to have stopped trying there after being escorted out twice more. Several mutual friends have reached out after hearing her side to get mine. Most have been supportive once they learn the full story. The few who've taken her side, I consider it a convenient filtering mechanism for relationships not worth maintaining. For those who asked about the furniture, I hired movers during a time I knew Amanda would be at work. They were in and out in 90 minutes with everything that was mine. Left behind anything I'd given her as gifts and anything purchased jointly. Clean break. I've started seeing a therapist regularly. She's helping me recognize patterns I missed. How Amanda subtly isolated me from certain friends. How her jokes at my expense normalized public criticism. How she reframed the apartment as hers despite all evidence to the contrary. The most common question in my DMs: did you plan this all along? Not initially. After overhearing her exit timeline, I started documenting and making contingency plans, but I wasn't planning to execute them immediately. The engagement party was simply the catalyst that showed me who she really was, not just to me, but to everyone who mattered. Edit woke up to hundreds of new comments. Quick responses to frequent questions. Yes, recording the exit timeline conversation was legal in my state. One-party consent. No, I don't feel guilty about the homelessness accusations. Amanda makes good money, has family in the area, and according to mutual friends, moved in with her sister immediately. She was never at risk of actual homelessness. Several people have suggested I was too calm, and this must be fake. When someone shows you who they are, believing them the first time saves a lot of drama. I'd already mourned the relationship during those 3 months of planning. By the time the engagement party happened, I was emotionally checked out, just waiting for confirmation that I wasn't overreacting. She provided that confirmation in front of 30 witnesses. To clarify the timeline, I signed the new lease 3 weeks before the party, but had been apartment hunting for about 2 months. The furniture deliveries were scheduled with flexible dates, which I adjusted once I moved out. For those concerned about the long term, I'm doing well. Better than expected. Started hiking on weekends, something Amanda always called pointlessly walking in dirt. Reconnected with friends I'd seen less during the relationship. Even went on a casual coffee date yesterday. Nothing serious, just remembering what normal, respectful interaction feels like. Final thought. Someone messaged asking if 3 years was too much to throw away over one incident. It wasn't one incident, it was a pattern revealed in one unmistakable moment. Sometimes clarity comes in a whisper, sometimes in a public announcement at your best friend's engagement party. Either way, when it comes, listen.